All right. Well, hello and good morning. Welcome to this free sales training for notaries. It's called The Problem with Salespeople. This is an important training for solopreneurs like us because not only are we the notary, the bookkeeper, the HR manager, the janitor, all of the hats, but we're also, bear with me one second, but we're also the salesperson for our own business. So whether it's writing copy for blogs or web pages or social media posts, or even when we're out networking, popping into office, like the office pop-ins, or we're reaching out via email or LinkedIn, call it whatever you want, but it falls under the sales umbrella. And frankly, many of us are underperforming in our sales position. If we don't sell ourselves and our services, no one will. So the skills you learn today will help you build lasting success. And that's part of my mission, to help you serve more customers, make more money, and build a business that thrives no matter what mortgage interest rates are doing. So through today's training, I invite you to take notes from Alison's presentation. She has over 20 years experience in sales and training sales teams. Even her experience in other industries are going to transfer to your mobile notary services, especially now that we are elevating your prospects with estate planning professionals and mutual prospecting opportunities. Now, just one new strategy, one new habit or hack could change everything for you in your sales process and your business. So listen closely today. Now, Alison also loves interaction in the chat. You'll get to know her. You're going to love her personality. So as I introduce her today, let's show some love with those emojis, the heart emoji, the fun emojis, the celebrate emojis, whatever you choose. Let's show some love on the screen right now and in that chat conversation. Tell her where you hail from. I told her there's going to be notaries from across the country. Can you introduce yourself and just let her know where you are right now? And here's an invitation for you. My request is let's keep that chat active and alive through the entire presentation today. Ask your questions and interact with Alison when she asks for it. And then every now and then I'll interject with some relevant questions, and don't worry, we'll have a full Q&A at the end. So please welcome the founder of Rep Methods and author of the #1 new release, The Art of Selling, Alison Mullins, to the stage. Hey, Alison. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, everybody. I'll get myself off mute. And of course, now my phone is ringing off the hook as soon as you released it, my phone starts ringing. Anyway, thanks for having me, you guys. I'm so thankful to have Bill in my life. I feel like he was an angel that got sent by the book writing gods. And I'm so thankful for you guys all wanting to learn from me today. I'm going to just flip the screen really quickly and make sure that you guys can all see my screen share. So if you're having any issues, please let me know. And I've also got to make sure that I've got the chat up here. So bear with me for a little housekeeping. Of course, that doesn't want to let me watch the chat. Come on, Zoom. Oh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, all right, Bill, you're gonna have to monitor the chat for me.
You got it. I'm on it.
All right, cool. Let's get this puppy rolling. So I wrote this presentation, The Problem with Salespeople, because it's a little funny to me, right? I've been in sales pretty much my entire life. If you ever get to take one of my classes, I talk about how I started selling shampoo in the mirror when I was like 8 years old. So I was really destined for some kind of like sales genre. And I'm a member in the construction community, die hard, and have been for the last 15 years. So, you know, as you might discover, like the picture behind me is in Carrara, Italy. This is what I love to do, is work with marble from all over the world. But today we're going to do this into 3 different segments. We're going to talk about basically, in your all's case, you are your own salespeople. So it's the problem with you guys. And I'm teasing, but I do want you to really try to take a self-awareness approach today and try to find yourself so that you can start to monitor and make real change in how you're going to sell yourself as a business. Something else that I do is I am an entrepreneur. So I understand what you guys are doing. I have these LLCs. I have to promote myself. I have to constantly merchandise my services. So we're going to go right into it. Now, this is all me. I got this concept of the 4 types of sales people and sales workers, honestly, from the real estate, investment, and legal industries. The idea of how to translate that into salespeople came from a funny show that you guys have probably all seen on now Netflix, which is called Suits. And if you've seen that show, how many have seen that show? Feel free to raise your hand in your screen. You don't have to do much. You'll know that the character Louis Litt talks about being a grinder. You've heard that term. So that got my curiosity flowing. And that's really what made me develop this presentation, because I realized that, you know, one of the great things about myself as a salesperson is I kind of had these overlapping principles from all 4 of these characteristics. So I urge you to read each one of these and try to identify yourself, because in the other 3 characteristics, this may be something that you need to develop, right? And embrace and find the whole, the missing piece. You know, if you are a grinder, which I have been in my career, you're somebody who is so tunnel visioned with getting the work out that sometimes you forget the bigger picture. You forget how to maybe scale and elaborate on business opportunities. You know, that in a notary's case, okay, let's give an example real quick. Let's say that you have an opportunity to network with one real estate agent. If you're a grinder, you know, you might work really, really hard for that one particular agent. But if you're a finder, a binder, and a minder, you've got those mentalities as well. You're not only working yourself for that one agent, but you're trying to make sure that that agent is getting you business from the other people in his network, her network, maybe in their brokerage firm, right? So a finder is someone who's like really good in going out and finding business. And I would say that with most of you guys, the finder is probably the one that you're missing the most. How many, if you want to show a range of hands, do you feel like you have a hard time finding new business? Yeah. Oh, I see. Good. A lot of people raising their hands here. That's what I thought. You know, you can talk all day long about target markets, but it's usually this disconnect with execution. And I'm really, really glad to see all of your all's hands raising. I'm going to actually make sure I can see more of you. Give me 1 second, you guys. I'm sorry for the delay. I just want to make sure I can see all those beautiful hands. You know, a finder is somebody that has to actually go out and find new business and find those relationships. Now, without staying on here too long, and now that you've seen what I mean by these 4 personalities, I would love to do a quick icebreaker. We don't have a lot of time, but if you want to quickly get yourself in here and you've got a sales problem that you want to talk about today, now is the time to get it, that hand raised, and we'll call on you right now.
Yeah, anybody have the courage to jump in on a sales challenge you're having? Can be anything. Aversion.
Follow up.
There's crazy follow up.
Perfect. Okay, great. We are going to tackle follow up today. I just want to make sure that I am also tackling all of your all's problems. So again, there's a subject matter that you've been struggling with. Throw it out here now. I want to make sure when I get to that section, we highlight your problem.
Alison, Miriam says she has no idea how to even get started
With selling yourself?
with selling.
Okay.
That's right. Can you hear me?
Yep, there she is.
Yeah. No, I'm new. I'm completely new to sales.
Completely new with sales. All right, that's great, Miriam. Well, we're going to go through this problem slide today. You're going to get lots of ideas. And then, this may be something that you want to follow up with me on. I've got some online courses also that could help you at another time too. But I hope you're going to get a lot of answers today on how to get started. Perfect.
Lisa Joy Phillips, you have a challenge for Alison as well. Oh, she's still on mute.
Sorry about that. I'm a reluctant networker.
Okay, good. This is all great, you guys. That makes me so excited because I've got all this coming up. Perfect. Networking. Got it. Check.
This is Sadie. Mine is procrastination.
Procrastination. Ooh, good one. Good one. Okay.
How about one more, Alison? Kimberly's got
Yeah.
her hand up.
One more.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Yes.
Great. Courage to start. Like, I have
Yes.
not done anything yet. I mean, I'm still new, but I do not have the courage to start.
Good. We're going to talk about getting over some fears to get out there, especially with cold calling. All right. I am so excited, you guys. I'm going to keep moving on the presentation because this tells me exactly what you guys need to hear too. And I want to
Hey, Alison.
Yes.
Giovanni even said something really interesting too, is how to talk past the gatekeeper.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we're going to cover all of those things. Perfect. That just lets me know that we're right in line with where we need to be today. So time management, fear, look what's already on the screen. I mean, you guys, I was prepared for you. So that makes me super, super excited as a salesperson. All right. All of you should have received a coupon code and had the ability to download my workbook. So if you haven't had the chance or you're traveling today, which I totally understand, I encourage you to grab this because as you progress in your sales changes, this is going to help you get there. And it's a great place to take notes along today's presentation, but also in your journey in general. So we'll go through that. Inside of the workbook, there is a mindset quiz. Now, we don't have a ton of time to spend on doing the quiz today, but the reason that I put this in my workbook for you guys is an individual approach. I want you to take the time to fill out this mindset quiz because I have found that I don't care who you are, what kind of salesperson you are, what kind of business person you are. If you're not in a mindset for change, if you haven't really analyze your weaknesses, then you're not going to be receptive to new tactics and new goals. So I put some of these questions in here, especially things like, cold calling. Just like the young lady Kimberly mentioned a minute ago, she doesn't know where to get started. And a lot of times that's because you don't know whether am I supposed to call this person? Am I supposed to start with an email? Am I supposed to go by and drop in? You don't even know where to begin because at this rate, you're just trying to earn new clients. You want to network and get people to want to use your services. That's how we make money. So do me a favor when you have a chance to try to take this quiz on your own, because this is for you, totally for you. It's none of my business what your answers are, but this is going to let you know where you need to work on the most. And I have this in the workbook as well, because I do deal with a lot of salespeople that work in companies. But imagine that as a business person, you had to do your own review. What would you say your weaknesses are? I already heard a few of them. I heard procrastination. Maybe I don't give deadlines on time. I heard that I need to work on my networking. I heard I struggle with follow-up, right? Don't worry. Everybody struggles with follow-up. I promise you. And I can't wait till we get to that section. And I heard that I've got nowhere to begin. I'm kind of lost. Maybe I'm disorganized, right? So I really, really want you to take those few minutes and write those weaknesses down so that we can tackle them together. And here we're going to start right off the bat with some solutions that you can put in place. Now, organization is a tough subject because when I start this part of the slide, how to stay organized. Some of you are probably going to go, really? Time management? Is this what I'm, getting for free today? Trust me when I tell you that if you've got issues with procrastination, networking, where to begin, organization and time management is everything. Because if you don't make the time to do those things and set aside time, you're never going to overcome those fears or make changes. So I talk a lot in my programs about time blocking. How many of you have heard of time blocking? Or, okay, so if you've heard of it, you've got your hand up in the air. Now here's the real kicker. Everybody put their hands down. How many of you actually use time blocking? I want to see this. I'm like, who's actually using time blocking? You've heard of it? Yes, but we don't. Okay, nope, not really many people. As far as what I can see, great. So what is the purpose? Why am I talking about time blocking? So time blocking is allowing yourself the gift of shutting everything else out and focusing on those few areas that need to be tackled. All right. And when we get to the follow-up segment, you got to have, this is what I call the foundation. If you don't have time blocked out on your own calendar to do your follow-up, when are you going to do it? Seems like a pretty easy scenario, but that's the typical issue that most people have with setting their calendars and their timing. So I want you guys to think about, when do you answer your emails? When do you respond to your emails? Are you doing those immediately as soon as they come in? Are you setting aside an hour in the mornings before you start your day to look at your emails? Are you doing that at the end of the day, in the evenings, maybe even after dinner? Whatever time that is for you, I want you to consider time blocking as the answer to your missing solution. Because I want you to be able to look at your weekly calendar and block off 3 hours and say, this is when I'm going to do my follow-up. This is when I'm going to answer phone calls. This is when I'm going to attend and look for networking events. We'll talk a little bit more about later. So as I'm going through this, maybe even have your calendar open on the side for next week. And maybe as we're talking today, set aside some time for some of these practices to see what you can come up with and when you can make time to actually do some of the missing practices. I have a phrase that I learned a few years ago that's always stuck with me, and I'll share that with you guys today. I no longer ever say, I don't have time. I don't allow myself to say it. I don't allow myself to say, I don't have time. The real thing that I'm allowed to say is, I didn't make time. I didn't make the time. That's a hard one. It's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, in realizing that if all I did was allow for the space and the time continuum, I could have gotten that done. I could have added that onto my agenda. So, all right, I'll continue on. Now, I don't think you guys, some of you I have read from your reviews and such that you do use CRMs. Can I get a show of hands of people who are using a database to track your clients?
Maybe even just type a 1 in the chat if that's easier for you. Then
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, we got lots of 1s.
Lots of 1s. Okay, perfect. So, there are a million, a dime a dozen types of CRMs. And 9 times out of 10, most of you have a website. You've got some type of way of collecting your customer data and keeping that in a central location. So I want to make sure that you're using that system properly, and getting the most functionality out of it. Some of you may not need a coaching in CRM, but CRMs were really designed to not only keep track of your customer data, so that's things like the names, phone numbers, addresses, email addresses, such and such, but it's also a place that you're collecting data. So you've got links on your website, forms, etc., that are filled out when you might get new leads. If you have a CRM, it should be able to track your sales and your orders. And in that customer database, you ought to have a place that you can actually, every time you interact with a customer, take some notes. And with those notes are going to be the key for you to be able to follow up with the client later on down the road. Now, in bigger sales organizations with outside sales reps, CRMs are incredibly important. Also for visibility, being entrepreneurs and being singular units, this is really about you not having to remember everything. You've got to take the notes. So in your work week, in your structured calendar, if you're Monday through Friday, setting aside time for follow-ups and emails, and maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you're setting aside a few hours for networking and communication with your clients. Your CRM is the place that you keep track of those needs. Like Mary, I'll just try to make one up really quickly. You guys can probably give me a better example, but Mary Jo Terry is a real estate agent. She's your client, and you spoke to her on Monday afternoon when you were doing your collections, and she let you know that on such and such date, she's got this many clients, going to closings, and she's going to need you to follow up with her on such and such date. These CRM tools are the places that you can store that data. You can even set reminders in your calendar so that you can then know to follow up. So it's really a technical situation. If you don't have a CRM and all you're using is an Excel spreadsheet, that's okay too, because we've got all these calendar tools. If you're using Google Calendar or Outlook, again, you've got this customer list. You've got details that you can outline about those particular customers. And then when you have those conversations, you take notes, you keep it in the Excel spreadsheet, and you create the calendar reminders and let the technology help you complete the follow-up and help you know, hey, in 2 weeks, I need to follow back up with Bill because we've got to hash out the next session that we're going to do together and get on a planning call. So I have to let Google do a lot of the work and the heavy lifting for me. And that could be Outlook, it could be whatever system that you use. Okay, so get a good understanding of who your customers are in that Excel spreadsheet or in that CRM. Use the technology that exists, use your calendar programming in order to let it do the reminding for you. Take advantage of the opportunity to mark that note or call to follow up. Take the time as you are networking with your customers to enter the notes. And if you have to, set aside time on your calendar to walk back through your week. So I love to do this on Fridays, you guys. Let's say that I've been out in Atlanta selling all week and I met with 20, 25 clients along the way. And I was networking my ass off, and if you want to get gritty about it, right? And I'm networking and I've got all those meetings were set in my Google Calendar. At the end of the week on Fridays, you can have your glass of wine, whatever works for you, but I want you to block out time on your calendar and say, okay, let me go back through my week and take notes on everything that happened with all of these clients. And at the same time, that's when you have the opportunity to start plugging in those calendar follow-ups, right? Any questions thus far? Am I scaring you all? It's really, really quiet over here.
Yeah, no, we're good. It's just sparked a lot of great conversation in the chat. People love to hear about those behind the scenes processes.
Okay, okay, good. I don't know why I can't see the chat, but I have a feeling it has to do with my presentation. Oh wait, no, here it is. I got it. I'm moving it over. Oh yeah, look at all that chatting. Okay, I'm not used to this. I'm more of an in-person gal, you guys. I love to do this in person. I can walk around the room with you. So I'm super glad. Yeah, Chris Traver, you say, is there a recommended CRM software tool for use in my notary work? I'm still trying. Okay, well, a lot of people like HubSpot. And that's just because you want to find whatever website service that you've used, you want to make sure that your CRM integrates with your website. Like I use Wix, so HubSpot is one of those that automatically integrates with my website. So some simple Google searches and, do a little reading and make sure that the program that you choose is integratable. And listen, you don't have to spend $1 million on software. You guys, Excel spreadsheet truly works great. If you've got Excel, note-taking skills, and a Google Calendar. Am I wrong, Bill? What do you think?
No, you got it right there. That's how, well, mine started out as a legal pad and then graduated to an Excel spreadsheet. So
Or
there's
Google spreadsheets,
Google Sheets
whatever.
now. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, Google Sheets. You don't have to have it. It just depends on how I think detailed your client list is. How big of a database do you have? A lot of people use those CRMs because they actually need reminders to come automatically about touches. So an old one that I used to use, which was Salesforce, it would let me know if I hadn't touched a client in 90 days. So that way it helps me from keeping silent because we can forget, I was in a multi-city environment. I was constantly traveling around. And before you know it, 6 months can go by and you forgot to reach out to so-and-so and check in with them. So if that's something that you're having trouble with, you might want to look for CRMs that have those particular capabilities as well. All right, I'm going to keep moving on. We're going to talk about target audience a little bit. So Bill told me that he coaches you guys all the time on finding new business and that this is like a no-brainer for this group, that I don't need to teach you guys anything, right? You're already geniuses when it comes to target marketing. But I did hear right off the bat about networking being an issue. And I think that's great because I'll fast forward here. I have a slide called the networking donut hole. So in some of my studies, what we call is that we're trying to fill this empty hole, the hole in the donut, with as many contacts as we possibly can. But what is the point of doing that if it's not the right type of client? Now, for me, my types of clients are contractors, architects, designers, builders, luxury residential, commercial projects. This is my list of where I go. Now, I put in your workbooks this beautiful empty octopus. This is another Alison design. Get it trademarked. And if you think about the octopus as your reach, your tentacles, and I want you to put the focus in the center and actually make notes of some of the target networking audiences that you need to find. So I talk a lot about thinking outside the box, but I want to give you guys some suggestions. Okay, so real estate agents are actually an extenuating target audience for me. I work in the remodeling and luxury residential sector. This is my target market of people. But if I really wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to expand on my network of reach. Actually, networking with real estate agents isn't a bad idea, because they often then have the contractor or the interior designer on that extenuating circumstances. So I often talk to businesses about really try to open your brain and think about other opportunities besides the low-hanging obvious fruit, and look around in your community and try to find networking groups that exist for women in real estate, women attorneys, men attorneys. Maybe they all belong to the same tennis club. Maybe you need to go and belong to that tennis club. Where do these people hang out? Where do they, is there a community organization that touches those legal personas? Does anybody have any ideas? I'd love to put it in the chat if you've got some crazy idea that's not like go to the bar's website.
Love that. What's the outside the box thinking?
Outside the box thinking. Okay, we'll keep moving. So I want you to think about the outside the box area of expertise, especially when it comes to legal and real estate. Hey, for all you senior living facilities. Okay, Miriam, I'd love to know more. Death duelists, golf clubs. Oh, I love the golf club idea. I do think that that's a really good one. I think if you can play golf, you're going to find some attorneys there on a Friday afternoon. Senior advocate groups. Look at all these great ideas coming in the chat, because we're here to be a network. And while I don't always work directly in the same area of expertise that you all do, you all have good ideas. Chamber of Commerce's, yes, absolutely. Where do they work out? That's a good idea, Scott. I mean, at the gym. I don't know how much conversationalist we get into at the gym, but I'm thinking more about these real groups. So like in my world, it's Home Builders Association of Richmond, Virginia. That's like a group, right? And then I've got National Association of Women in Construction. I've got the National Kitchen and Bath Association. But if I was really trying to like spread my outreach, like for me, I don't love builders, but I might attend or go to another builder area. The AIA, I don't always work directly with the architects, but for me to be participating in those architectural clubs and communities gives my brand some exposure and allows me to sort of penetrate from the outside in. Oh, look at Miriam's like NAWIC rocks. Yeah, Miriam, NAWIC does rock. I mean, and there's nothing that says that you guys couldn't network with a NAWIC group. I mean, they need notaries. Construction packages sometimes need notarization before they have to go before the planning committees. You never know. All right, I'm going to keep moving forward. These are great ideas. Keep them coming because you're all helping your teams here. For sure. So next up, I want to jump into cold calling. This is usually a fun topic. Again, I am an in-person guru. We all kind of got accustomed to online Zooming because of COVID. But in my world of sales, yeah, I just prefer to do everything in person. But in my history, I've also had to like be the person who gets on the phone, especially at a retail store, and I have to call up the people on the client list and say things like, we just got a new arrival on such and such. Wanted to make sure you were aware. Can I set up a time for you to come in and visit us? And these are the networking skills that we have to do over the phone or over the email. And in this day and age, like, I hate to break it to everybody, and I'm sure you feel the same way, but emails are like, oh my God, I just want to pull my hair out. I'm so tired of, there's just I feel like I get bombarded. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm constantly getting bombarded with the emails. So what are some good strategies to overcome your fear of cold calling clients? Because I can promise you the best reactions are going to be over the phone, in person. Sending emails, sending letters, those don't get people results. You know why? Because there's a delete button or there's the trash. They don't actually make headway. I mean, in this day and age, we do it, we try to attract attention, and it feels like we're just spinning and spinning and spinning. The truth is, if you really want to make a difference with your clients, pick up the phone, set a coffee date, and really try to get some interpersonal interaction where possible in order to build the relationship. So I talk a little bit about something called limbic resonance. So this gets boring. It's a big fancy word, but all it really means, which it actually comes from, this is one of my favorite books. If you guys have ever heard, let me see, make sure you can see it. This is Primal Leadership. It's an excellent read if you really want to develop some of your own entrepreneurial leadership skills. And that's where this term comes from. The ideal situation of getting in front of someone or even being on the phone is that you're actually allowing that human interaction to take place between two people, which creates a connection. When you create limbic resonance with a client, you're creating that true opportunity for a future and long-lasting relationship. We just don't get those over the internet or over the phone. And so this is where we harmonize. This is where we come together. And one of the biggest goals before you go out on some cold calling expedition trying to get new business, is you want to have these self-awareness skills. Empathy is the knowledge of being able to read a room. It seems so simple, but in all honesty, in my training, I have come across like that there's a lot of humans in this world that just don't have these characteristics. They don't have the ability to know whether or not you've made someone particularly uncomfortable by walking in their door and trying to put the card on the table. You have to be able to kind of like read those facial expressions, right? And that takes practice. But I'm here to tell you, I'm here to make you all a promise. With practice, it gets easier. And with practice and just continuing to go and try again, even when we may get rejected or it feels uncomfortable, we have to just get back on that networking horse and walk right up to the next door and be able to leave that business card and try to make an introduction. So I usually use something called chameleoning. And actually, let me see here. I'll go and pull up this little slide here. This is a really cute one. Does anybody know what a chameleon is? Obviously, it's this little guy on the screen. What does a chameleon do? It changes its colors and it changes its appearance to fit its surroundings. It's a simple concept. But if we can apply that to getting customers and grabbing a hold of them and trying to retain their attention. So how would you chameleonize yourself to a customer? Please feel free to put it in the chat. Oops, sorry, I'm skipping around too much. You guys, here we go. It's finding a connection. We have to use that empathy. We have to use our limbic resonance skills I like to do research in advance. So, if you guys are trying to reach out to a particular real estate firm and, break in, trying to network and get business, before you make that call, you should have spent at least 30 minutes to an hour doing research. You need to look up the website. You need to know who is the broker, who are the game changers, who's got the real estate signs on the side of the road, who are the game changers within that firm, what are the names of the decision makers, and is there like one particular real estate agent in that branch who's going to be the gatekeeper, if you will, to other relationships within that branch? How long have they been on the job? Where did they go to school? Do they have a family? Do they like sports? You guys might be, okay, I see some stuff coming into the chat, asking for contacts and other potential introductions. Yes, Melissa, you definitely want to ask for, I think if that's what you're saying about asking for a referral, if I can get somebody else to introduce me, it's always the game changer way to go, and having those connections, but it's not always possible. But you can do enough research before you make that call to try to get them on the hook for longer than 30 seconds and give you 15 minutes. One of the ways that I like to do that is making sure that I know exactly what problem I'm going to solve for them. And we might have to do a little research figuring out what that is. And you got to get over going around the gatekeepers. So this was something that came up in the chat. How do we get around the gatekeepers? Any ideas before I start throwing mine out there? I've had to do this for years. Okay, yeah, uncover their interests. Yep. Don't treat them as gatekeepers. I don't go around, I go through. Oh, I love these responses. Oh, I love that, Jennifer. Well, in my world, food is one of the number one ways to get through a gatekeeper. Donuts, coffee, maybe some cupcake treats or cake pops, candy. One of my other like great ways of getting through a door is actually needing their help. So my most famous way of getting past any gatekeeper is letting them help me, presenting the gatekeeper with a dilemma and asking for their help. And before you know it, the gatekeeper kind of their facade softens and they wrap their minds around wanting to help this little damsel in distress. But that would work whether you're a male or a female, because we all need help in certain occasions, right? I need your help. Thanks, Bill. Exactly. Asking for what you need and just put it on the table. There's no reason to BS around it. You can say, I'm new to the area. I know that you have this great, situation going on here, and I'd really love if you could help me find the way to XXX person's heart. It's amazing how that works, especially legal secretaries. Now, I know this also, I didn't tell you guys, but I'm the daughter of an attorney. So I grew up in a legal household with my uncle was a district county judge. So I know these people left and right. Thank goodness. All right, moving on. As we move on today, I want to make sure I talk about my favorite subject, which is merchandising. And I promise you guys the follow-up and stuff is coming up next. Merchandising. Now, even Bill will admit, when he first saw this topic, he was like, I'm going to skip this chapter. Right, Bill? He said, I'm not even going to read about merchandising. This does not apply to me.
Yeah.
Trust me, you guys. Merch, you are a service. Just because you're a product or a service, you can actually merchandise your brand. You've got to think about where you belong. And in some cases, that's kind of an obvious answer. We know the legal entities, the real estate offices. What about those packaging facilities, shipping locations? They always maybe need a backup notary on call. You know, how are you merchandising your brand? You want to make sure that you are placing yourself as a service in the most obvious hands as possible. Now, we uncovered all kinds of groups where you could possibly go and network and place your service and make sure that you've got these people have your information. They've got you on call. Contractors, they are great ones. You know, other opportunities that are out there. You want to make sure that you are keeping your brand clean. Now, what does this mean? I mean, yeah, in products, you have to actually like go in and polish up the you know, the towers or the samples, make things look good. In a grocery store, you've got to go in and you've got to move your stuff around on the shelf and make sure that the bottles are all facing label out and everything's pulled forward. But how about a service? How do you keep it clean? You've actually got to schedule time on your calendar. Maybe it's once a month. Maybe it's once every 3 months. I can't tell you that. But you've got to actually go in and check on your placement. Is this co-op business who uses your services, do they need any more flyers? Do they need any more business cards? Do they have any special requests that they might have coming up? So keeping it clean and keeping your placement stylized within your business relationships is just as important as if you were a product on the grocery store shelf.
You know what really popped for me on this one, Allison, too, is that, you know, this could be your website too. You know, how many times do we set up a website when we first start a business and then we just forget about it for 10 years? And then you go back and you look at it and you're like, oh crap, it still says I live here, I service this, or it has my old name on it, my old email address or something. So you can be cleaning that part up too of your branding, or you could schedule your Google business profile post as part of your merchandising of your services. This was really fascinating for me.
Well, and another thing that I've learned with salespeople is, especially like, think of yourselves as if these partners of yours are a retail associate. They need to buy your they need your services. You've got to make it easy for them to access you. And people who need to utilize you as a service need training on how to access your services. That's merchandising too. So what do I mean by that? If you've got a website with particular buttons and scheduling, and if you want them to call you up on the phone, whatever your methodology is for booking, you got to make sure that these target clients know exactly what to do to get a hold of you quickly. Because we all know that in the crunch time, they need that notary and they need them now, and they're going to need them on this date and this time. So using technology, if possible, like I love things like Calendly. I just found a new one that I'm using, which actually syncs all of my calendars in one place. You know, I make sure that there are buttons all over my website so that people can appropriately grab me 15 minutes, 30 minutes and schedule down the road. If you don't have that in place, which hopefully you do, that's definitely something that you want to focus on like right away. You want to make it easy for your customers to find you, make it easy for them to book your time. And that is also merchandising. So cool. When I went to school for fashion merchandising, I had no idea how much it was going to impact, you know, my career in sales as a whole, but it's truly, truly helped me. And I've done this with my stone customers for years. I'll just give you guys one example before I move on to follow up. But several of my customers who are fabricators, stone fabricators, they actually would just allow me to go on their stone yards. I count their inventory. I take an inventory of what they have. And then I'm always sending them offers of what I believe that they need to fill in in order to be properly merchandised so that they can stay on trend. And these guys they're pretty, they're pretty rough and tough community of people, and they don't stay on top of fashion trends or trends in the industry. So they're more than happy to let me merchandise their wholesale area because they know I know what I'm talking about. I've proven my expertise and they've allowed me to use my services, and it guarantees me a sale every single time because I've built their trust. I've made it easy for them, and they know that over time they've seen that the inventory I sell them is actually going to sell. So it builds trust in the relationship. Any other questions on merchandising? I don't think so.
Nope, looks like we're good.
We'll get to the famous follow-up. So I'm so glad whoever it was that brought that up for me this morning. Oops, did I just use myself?
You did.
Oh gosh. I'm sorry, you guys. Kicking stuff around here. Got very excited. Okay, and we're back.
All right, there you go.
Thanks. Sorry about that. So follow-up is one of the instances that salespeople underuse the most. We don't know when to do it. Is it immediately after an appointment? How do you follow up before an appointment? After the sales? Before you pitch an offer? The truth is, all of these things. There's never too much follow-up in a business relationship. I'm going to show you really quickly some of the easiest ways to master follow-up skills in your day-to-day. And I want you to utilize the calendar functions that we talked about. I want you to think about this in a time blocking perspective, because this is stuff that you literally have to set aside some time. And I don't want to hear anybody saying, I don't have time, right? Because we're going to make time. So the number one area, this is like my freebie. I promise you're going to get sales that you've missed in the past if you just simply go through your sent emails. Boom, mind blowing. I don't know if you guys do that very often, but I'll just tell you a quick story. So when I lived in New York City and I was first starting out in the fashion industry, I worked for a very, very old Jewish man, and he ran the production for this big, large apparel company. And he's the one who taught me this. He used to come by my desk every Friday and stalk me, and whether or not I've cleaned out my inbox, have I filed my emails away, and have I gone through my sent messages? Because he knew, as a 22-year-old female, that I hadn't done any of that, and that there were things that he had told me to send that needed to be followed up on. And until I went through my sent messages, I didn't know I'd missed it. And he was so right. This is like age before beauty thing. Like, I mean, oh my gosh, he was like a genius. And this man hardly even used computers. But he knew the power of losing communications, because we just go and go and go. We keep moving forward. We keep going to the inbox. We keep moving on to the next. You answer that email, move on to the next. You look at this email and you move on to the next. Well, what about putting in your calendar, maybe on Monday mornings or Friday afternoons or sometime on the weekend, a few minutes each week to just scroll through your sent mail and make sure you didn't miss anything. Because I will guarantee any salesperson on the floor that they have missed something that they sent out, an offer, an opportunity. Maybe you sent out a request to somebody and asked them for coffee and you didn't get a response. Maybe you sent out that request to meet you for lunch. Maybe you sent out that request to set up the time for the closing next week. Or it may be you've sent out something, you've asked for something, and you've got to make sure you're following up. It's in the sent mails. This
Yeah.
goes for texting too. If you need help finding opportunities, sometimes you can find that in somebody's social media page, your call logs. But this is the number one area that I can help you the most. I really believe it. Any questions on that?
That's really huge. You sparked some great conversation too, but this it reminded me that even with my Fab 100 system, my daily dues that I talk about too, where you got a list of prospects, you're reaching out to them. The sent emails is one of the first ways that I started keeping track of that too, because I didn't have a CRM. So this is brilliant. I love this strategy.
I do too. And I can't take credit for it. I owe it to Sonny Esses in New York City. I'm pretty sure he's retired by now, but it's really saved me in my career. So I have a little story. This is an excerpt from my book. And when I was training this young lady, I mean, it was never going to happen. And still to this day, I regretfully know that the young lady that I was working with just couldn't get the idea of following up into her routine. And you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. If you have that phone conversation, use your calendar. Like I saw it in the chat, use a task function in Outlook, whatever is your methodology, but set the reminders. This is one of the easiest ways for you guys to not have to think about it. You have the phone call with Mr. Bill. You guys set up some stuff online together. You make a plan. You've got a plan of action, but we're human. Like we have to utilize the technology to set these tasks aside and be able to follow up later. I'm not going to remember in 3 weeks that I'm supposed to call Bill at 4 p.m. on this day. So I've got to make sure I'm utilizing those task functions in order to set the follow-up. And I promise you, with a little practice, time organization, time management, you can get better at this. And a little diversification within that email system, making sure you're filing things away and making sure that you are tackling and rehashing your weekly conversations. Again, not to go back to the CRM, but I have to retrace my week. I've got to think about each appointment, each phone call. I got to go through the day. Who did I talk to? Who did I meet with? What did we talk about? What did we say? And that way I can then go on the calendar and go, yeah, okay. Next week, I've got to send this appointment. I've got to make these notes. And it really helps me stay on top of my business. Okay. Any questions on follow-up and sent mail? I really hope. Oh, good. Somebody said this is an excellent illustration. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys are enjoying it very much. We got a couple more sections today. I know we're going over time, but I want to talk about branding and unique value proposition. If you haven't heard these terms, they're typically, what marketers we talk about all the time. UVP is your unique value proposition. This is what differentiates you from your notary competitor. Okay, what do you do that's different? We all have some little nuances. Maybe you are 24 hours a day. Maybe you're 7 days a week. Maybe you are available at 4 a.m. I don't know. You guys have to think about this for your own brand and your own company. But what is it about your company that sets you apart? And if you're not marketing that and building that esteem into your branding and into your marketing, you are missing the boat. That's all I can really tell you here, because this isn't a marketing call. But these unique value propositions are everything when it comes to solving problems for your clients. And we want to make sure that your brand is the best option for that particular client. So you're presenting your brand to meet the ego of the client that you want to target. Hope that makes sense. Same thing goes for body language. How the ego portrays your brand and how it fits into their needs is everything about how you communicate with your clients. All right, so actions speak louder than words. What else can you do to reform some actions and take action? We already know about the organization, but I want you to also think about your pitch. When it comes to that unique value proposition, you've got a space in your notebook to write down what are your expertise skills. What are the things that set you, Mrs. Notary, Mr. Notary, apart from the guy down the street? Why should someone use you instead of taking it to the UPS store, right? Or I don't want to step on anybody's toes, you know, to some national competitor or something. You're an individual business. You're unique. You've got selling properties, you know, you're a mobile notary. Nobody else does that service. So you want to make sure that those items are at the top of your sales pitch before you cold call, walk in the door, make any type of, you know, interaction at a networking group. You want to make sure that your unique value proposition is the first selling point out of your mouth, because that's going to be what changes someone's mind in utilizing you instead of the other person. Want to talk about closing systems. Now, it's a little different with services, but you guys have to close too. You got to close new accounts. You got to close business. And one way to do that, that I think is going to work the best with you guys is actually assume the order, write the order, make them stop you. Bill, you might want to put that one in the chat too, because it's not on a screen here for us today. This is my generalized class, but for you guys, if you can just assume that you've got the business, make a point to actually go ahead and start writing the order for business. And that person actually has to stop you and say, wait, I don't actually need you. You know, you're going to actually be able to close more sales. So I love that. Assume the order, write the order, make them stop you. I also love keeping your options simple, limit the choices that a client has to make. I think Bill was the one that once told me, even for my own website, he said, Allison, make sure your button is at the top of the page. Don't make anybody look for how to find the book. Make it easy. Make sure you're tailoring your pitch and making sure that you're staying up on whatever trends are coming in legislature, tips for your business partners that might help sell you as their service. Keep in mind with rebuttals and refusals, this is a tricky situation. I do only talk about it a little bit today because we've got to keep moving forward. I'm about to close out. But when it comes to rebuttaling and refusing, you don't have to do this too much in your all's line of work. You're not really fighting to close a sale. But just remember that it's okay to walk away and try again another day. If you're in the cold calling scenario and you're trying to maybe like go into a strip mall and offer your services and you've got pamphlets and business cards and you're getting rejected, you know, some days, I gotta say, I don't care who you are, it's just not in the cards. And if you're getting rejected and rejected over and over again, you might just want to take a rest and try again tomorrow, but don't not try again. Always get back out there, get up on the horse. I know it sounds corny, but again, some days there's like an energy in the atmosphere that I can't exactly explain. You guys are just gonna have to trust me. But it's like a sales 101, like we just know when the day is not going well. And at that point, it's time to go answer some emails or work on my calendar or make some phone calls instead, because I'm just not having the good luck. And I guess I'm here to tell you that that's okay too, because not every day is going to be a perfect day out trying to get new business. So how long does change take? Well, that's really up to you. Whenever I'm doing these courses for bigger businesses, I think it's really a matter of how you're going to practice and apply some of these methods along the way. I offer in my business plan many different styles of training, and it really just depends on the kind of work that you're wanting to put into change. And then I'll just make sure that you guys all know that I do have a book out there. I mean, I'm sure Bill has sent you all the emails, and make sure you got your workbooks. And if you loved this presentation today, I will take some questions here shortly. Please make sure and write me a review on Trustpilot as well. It would mean the world to me if any of these 1 points will make a difference in your business career. And thank you.
Awesome, Allison. Thank you so much. That was awesome. Now we're going to open this up for questions. Any type of questions that you might have about sales, overcoming fears, anything that Allison touched on that sparked a question for you. We've got time for just a few more questions, so we'd love to hear from you. And I have a few as well, Allison, that might
Sure.
spark. I'm curious, again, going back to the fear, and a lot of times we'll have notaries who finally overcome the fear. They finally start making the quote unquote cold calls or even warm calls. And then they get confronted with a no or a couple no's, and they spiral out a little bit. So what advice do you have to a solopreneur who's down in the dumps on a bad sales day and they just feel rejected? How do you get yourself back up?
Oh man, you guys have had so many of those days in my career. It's okay. First of all, I actually wrote a chapter on mental health and selling because negativity, especially with salespeople, we can do bad things with that. But I would recommend going ahead and taking an early lunch or a brunch, stopping for a few minutes, especially if you're on the road. If you're at home in your office and you're getting a lot of negativity on the phone, go for a walk. Take a minute, take a breather, because what happens, and this is completely out of our control, but I swear it's an energy thing. It's an energy thing that's like atmospheric, and we produce our own energy sometimes. And some days it's just not harmonizing. And that's okay. But I have found that if I will get up, go for a walk, do a little soul searching meditation, get some breath of fresh air. That's the best thing for me to then come on back and try again. And sometimes I have to recognize that it's me. It is me. I am the problem, and I've got to change my tune a little bit. Maybe I had too much caffeine this morning. I mean, that happens. Maybe I need to dial it down a little bit. And that's where that chameleoning comes into play. I noticed in the chat over here, somebody said, I don't want to be fake. It was something along the lines of, I want to be real. Please don't mistake me. When I talk about chameleoning, I definitely believe in authenticity. There's a difference between authenticity and chameleoning yourself to the audience at hand. In one of my online classes, I talk about the difference between being a mouse and an elephant. There's a huge difference between these two animals. But when I walk into an office space, I can tell when it's party central and I need to be maybe my most party Allison that exists, right? I got to be full of high energy. Or am I talking to somebody who's really quiet and like a librarian? And maybe I need to follow that tone. How do I talk to people? And so when I think about chameleoning myself, it's really about that limbic resonance and adapting my communication skills to the person on the other end of the phone, conversation, coffee shop, whatever. That's a relationship skill that will take you guys further and far. So I wanted to make sure I addressed that question before we left today.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you elaborated on that. That was a great explanation.
Thanks.
Who else? Time for one more question. All right. Well, let's wrap up here. Let's show Alison some love and honor for coming in and sharing her wisdom, her expertise, and her experience over the last 20 years. The book, of course, is on Amazon. The Art of Selling, of course, I'll send you out the link there. If you happen to read the book and you get value from it, the best gift you can give an author is to review on Amazon. You have no idea how important that is to a self-published author like Alison, like me. And then, of course, if there's anything else, Alison offers lots of ways to contact her on her website. I'll include that at repmethods.com, but I will include that link in the email as well with the replay. Alison, any closing words for these amazing, thriving solopreneurs?
Oh, it's such a pleasure to do this. You know, you guys, this is a personal journey. I've only been in business for about 9 months. And even though I've been in sales for this long, and I really, really love the feedback. I got to tell you that I work with feedback. So send it to me, email me, let's talk. And I'm going to continue to mold my business from people like you. And so I appreciate your support.
All right. Thank you so much. Remember, we're on a mission to help you serve more customers, make more money, and build a business that thrives no matter what mortgage interest rates are doing. And sales is going to help you do that. Have a great weekend. We'll see you later.